Welcome back to Smitty's Learning Room. Today we begin to have a look at the second focus question for Core 2, how can psychology affect performance? In this video we're going to explore the dot point around motivation. So when we have a look at the syllabus and where does this come from, as I said before, we're now into the second focus question, how can psychology affect performance? And we're having a look at the dot point in relation to motivation. So when we look at this focus question, there's three parts to it. We're looking at motivation, anxiety, and physiological strategies to enhance motivation and manage anxiety. So this video and two videos following will have a look at these concepts for you. So with this focus question, we start to have a look at the concepts of that in order to achieve peak performances for athletes, they have to be prepared both mentally and physically. So last focus question, we had a look at how athletes can improve their performance physically. And this focus question is about preparing themselves mentally. So the idea of mental preparation and the psychological state of an athlete, both leading up to and during training and performance, is going to be different for every athlete, and obviously going to be different depending on the type of sport or activity they're engaging in. So the athletes need to have a look at these concepts of motivation and anxiety and what kind of physiological strategies can be implemented to enhance the motivation and be able to manage the anxiety around their event. So we start by having a look at motivation. And motivation is the desire to achieve a goal or accomplish a task. So, athletes might be motivated by lots of different things to be able to finish what they're doing or to achieve their goal. Now, motivation can either be positive motivation or negative motivation. An athlete might experience both of these in relation to their performance or their training or lead up to performance. They might only experience positive motivation or only negative motivation. When we look at positive motivation, it comes from the desire to experience, then continue to experience the rewards of achieving a successful outcome. And some examples of this is praise, self-satisfaction, financial gain, or media coverage. So these are all positive or good things that are in relation to the athlete's performance or their desire to achieve. When we look at negative motivation, we look at it as the desire to avoid the penalties of an unsuccessful outcome. And some examples of this are fear of failure, disappointment, lack of respect from others, or missing a selection on a team, or loss of prize money. And while both forms of motivation can and do have a positive or good or beneficial impact on performance, positive motivation is more likely to bring out better performance or a higher quality of performance based on the mindset that goes along with these sorts of things. The other reason why positive motivation is more successful with performance with athletes is it's more likely to generate enjoyment and obviously continued long-term participation. So when we have a look at motivation and where does motivation come from, we have these two concepts that it comes from intrinsic sources or extrinsic sources. So when we look at the concept of intrinsic, that's internal. So like our own sort of personal reasons here, like, why are we doing this? Sometimes some people might do an event to raise money for a charity which is close to them. And so that's an intrinsic motivator for them because it's for their own personal enjoyment and satisfaction. Now, when we look at extrinsic reasons, these are our external reasons. These are sort of reasons outside our own sort of concept of doing this. So for example, a financial reward, so if there's a monetary prize attached to that event, trophies, meeting the expectations of parents and friends in a community, or even just for public recognition. Just like positive and negative motivation, both sources of motivation are common and can be effective for athletes. However, again, that intrinsic motivation should be encouraged as it's more sustainable and long-term. And often if an athlete can be motivated themselves, they're more likely to continue and be more successful because they aren't controlled by these external motivators which they have no control over. Now, this is the first video in a series of 3 videos for this focus question. So what you need to do is make sure that you watch the video on anxiety and the video on physiological strategies to enhance motivation and manage anxiety, to make sure that you've got all the content for this focus question in Core 2.